Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another video. So today I want to show you guys a slightly different version of my Amazon here. And this is a version I've created for the purpose of killing a tier 4 pinnacle bosses with ease. I've been able to trivialize them. I now can kill them within like 15 seconds. Don't really have to move even. I don't have to dodge anything. Even if I do get hit, I can tank it. As you can see, I have 5.5k energy shield, and I'm able to outleach the damage that I take. So I could just stand still, let things hit me, and still survive and kill the boss. So this is a really, really powerful version. If pinnacle bossing is the main draw of the game for you, and that's something you want to spend your time doing and just farming those bosses. And basically what we're doing is we're taking the Amazon from my previous build, and we're basically revamping it with energy shield instead of hybrid energy shield evasion gear. And the main purpose of that is to get a higher maximum hit pool so you don't get one shot by the bosses. But also because evasion is essentially useless against these pinnacle bosses because they do AoE attacks that you cannot evade. So all of that evasion rating, all that investment into evasion rating was doing nothing for us. So I went the high energy shield route here, and we'll also be able to get some more damage this way as well, and I'll explain how. But basically, yeah, you're replacing every single gear slot that used to have hybrid energy shield evasion gear with pure energy shield gear. I'm using an energy shield helmet here. You don't actually need this spirit, and I'll explain why later, but yeah, just getting a high energy shield helmet, high energy shield body armor, high energy shield boots, and a high energy shield focus, ideally with some extra lightning damage, which is going to help a lot with killing these bosses quicker. Now for rings, this is where the biggest difference is made here. I've upgraded my rings. As you can see, this ring here is like over 100 divines. It's kind of crazy. I got lucky crafting this, but this close to doubled my damage. As you can see here, my lightning spear goes from 40 to 80,000 with just taking this ring on and off. So getting more rings like this and getting maybe a second one like this is really going to speed up the kill time on these pinnacles by a lot. I've gotten it now to the point where I can kill Zesht, tier 4 Zesht, before he can even enter into phase 2. And so the fight is really easy. It's about 15 seconds. And this build this ring is what's helping me a lot with that damage. But even if you don't have rings as strong as this, even when I was using a weaker ring, I was able to tank a lot of his hits and just outleach the damage I was taking. So even though it would take me a little bit longer and to have to fight him a little bit in phase 2, it was still nearly 100% success rate at killing him. And if you want to even make it a little easier, you can take some of these omens in here that'll give you your energy shield back. And since we have so much energy shield, this will come in clutch and save you. Now, when it comes to charms, you're going to want to use charms appropriate to the pinnacle you're fighting. Zesh does a lot of cold stuff, and he can freeze you, which is pretty lethal. So I'm using 2 of these freeze charms for stuff like Orloth, which I fought a little bit. He does a lot of chills, which slow you down. For those, you're going to want to take like a slowing charm, like a silver charm. And then for like King of the Mists, he does chaos damage. And if you don't have your chaos resistance capped, you're going to want to use something like this chaos resistance charm. And then, of course, Arbiter does a lot of fire damage. You want maybe an ignite one, and so on. But let me go over the passive tree and the gear and kind of what I've changed. So as you can see, high energy shield on every piece of gear. I do not need the spirit on either the body armor or the helmet. And the reason for that is for pinnacle bosses, all you really need is cast on crit. Don't worry about this herald here. You don't even need that. Cast on crit is all you need for killing pinnacles. The combat frenzy and the herald of thunder, those are just there to generate use charges while mapping when you're killing smaller monsters, but on pinnacle bosses, you're not going to be killing anything, so it's kind of irrelevant. I basically, when I fight Zesht, I keep these on up until I get to the boss fight, and then I turn them off and put on cast on crit, and that's basically all you have to do. So yeah, you really only need 100 spirit if you're going to be pinnacle bossing, and that allows you, again, to get more energy shield from your armor here. Now, the passive tree has changed quite a bit, and that is because we have spec'd out of all these hybrid energy shield evasion points that were good before, and we're going more towards getting more energy shield. So we're taking this section up here, we're still taking this, and then my jewels have also changed. Now I'm using jewels that have both energy shield, the baseline energy shield, as well as energy shield from the equip focus. So those two stats together is how I'm able to get to such a huge amount, 5.5k energy shield here, as well as trying not to lose out on damage and still maintaining that crit damage there. To get as much damage out of these as possible. Now, as far as penetration is concerned, you're going to need 75 for these tier 4 pinnacles. That's how much res they have. And one way to get a lot of penetration really easily is actually to use a controlled metamorphosis here in this slot. You want a very large ring one, And this is able to give you Surging Currents for 1 point, which is another 15 pen. You get 12 pen here from Primal Sundering. This point here, Wasting, is also really powerful. It's 30% increased damage. And then you can get Maiming Strike without the travel points, which is saving you a couple points. And then finally, for Zesh specifically, this is also a very good point because he does go underground, and when he does that, he leaves your presence. So this is another 50 crit damage against him if you're going into phase 2. I kill him in phase 1, so I actually don't really need this anymore, but it will help speed up the kill if you are still fighting him in phase 2. So this makes a big difference on getting more pen. This is another 27 pen we're getting here for 2 points. And then, of course, we're still taking this for another 30. That puts us at 57. And then I have the Corruption here on my gloves. Again, another 10. That puts me at 67. And then finally, I have 1 emerald here with 9 penetration. And all that combined gives me a total penetration here of 76 lightning resistance penetration, which is exactly what you want for these Pinnacle bosses, since we're only doing lightning damage. I guess if you have damage of other types in your rings, like this ring has fire damage, you're not going to get that much benefit there. So maybe in that case, you might warrant using the Aziz amulet that ignores resistances. But I think that amulet is not quite as good as the gold amulet here, the Serpent's Egg, because this is in effect able to double your damage because it's generating you charges twice as fast, allowing you to have a higher attack rate with Stormlance. And so even the Aziz amulet can't really compete here. It's not going to be doubling your damage. And this amount of investment into penetration isn't that expensive. It's, you know, a couple points here, 3 points here, a corruption on the gloves, and like one affix on a jewel. It's not even that hard to get. So I think it's better to use an amulet that is guaranteed to double your damage. Now, that is pretty much the gear. That is the, you know, passive tree. And this will, of course, be linked in my mobalytics guide here. I've added a section called Pinnacle Bossing that you guys can switch over to look at. And so basically, if you plan on farming these bosses a lot, you want to do the swap. I still maintained some of my old hybrid evasion gear, just in case I want to switch back to more of a mapping setup. I feel like mapping, evasion is probably stronger because you're not going to get hit as much. And it's just going to feel more like quality of life because you're not going to get stunned and hit as much. You don't need as much recovery. Whereas for bossing, evasion's useless, like I said, and so we're going for the higher hit pool. Now, when I go over the skills here, these have also changed slightly. For mapping specifically, I think Penetrate at this point here is actually superior over Infused Weapon because it's giving you like 50 flat physical damage against everything you do, all the enemies you hit, even the ones at the edge of your screen with the chaining from your Lightning Spear. But on bosses, you're really only hitting one target, and that's where Infused Weapon can actually be better. Infused Weapon is only going to hit the first target with your Lightning Spear or I guess your Stormlance. So it's not as good for mapping, but it's great for bossing because it actually enables something cool here, which is Rising Tempest. Rising Tempest, it gives you 12% more elemental damage for each skill of a different elemental type you've used recently. Now, the weird thing is Infused Weapon, because it's a cold, lightning, and fire skill, it counts as all three. And so we're actually getting 36% more elemental damage here on a Rising Tempest because we're using Infused Weapon. So that's one of the main draws of using it. Another draw of using it is, of course, Coaling Strike here, which against these Pinnacle bosses that have like 30 million HP is doing, you know, like over 1 million, like close to 2 million damage extra to help speed up the fight. And then, of course, we've got Overcharge and Commiserate together, which will allow you to get a bigger shock without having to put those into your Stormlance. So we're getting a bigger shock, we're getting Coaling Strike, and we're getting a really high value Rising Tempest support gem on our Stormlance. Also, you can put Blind, and if you're not crit capped like I am, you have the option of using Blindside support to help out, get some more crit, because the boss should be blinded. I personally am not using it because it was actually less damage than the other supports I'm using, simply because I'm already crit capped, but this will give you an extra 15% more crit damage and 15% more crit chance against blinded targets. And of course, because we're swapping from Penetrate over to Infused Weapon, you're going to want to switch your runes on your weapon over to these crit damage ones, which are giving you more base crit damage. And that is not quite as good as Penetrate, but it is very competitive. And that paired with the Infused Weapon benefits we're getting is actually superior for bossing. But then for the rest of them, still using Scattershot and Overabundance. I'm still using Overextend. And now we're using Lightning Infusion. I guess I was already using that before. But yeah, the main change here is using Rising Tempest. Now for Castling Crit, that doesn't really change. We're using the Sniper's Mark again, Impetus, Energy Retention, Ingenuity, and Inspiration. You actually don't need all this. I'm pretty sure all you really need is just Sniper's Mark, Impetus, and Ingenuity. Inspiration is just there to reduce the mana cost a little bit on the Sniper's Mark. And then the energy retention, I mean, this does make the generation maybe a little quicker, but you're basically limited by the cooldown on the Sniper's Mark. So it doesn't matter if you can gain, multiple instances of cast on crit per second. It's not going to make it any faster. So you don't really need that. You can get by with probably just a 3-link. And like I said, none of these other auras are needed. Now, Infernal Cry is interesting. We're using this to generate us Rage with Raging Cry. That is going to allow you to gain Rage against the boss, and Rage is more damage, so of course you're going to want to use this. And I'm using Second Wind so that in case I mess up and I use my first War Cry before the boss is actually spawned, I still have another chance to get another one off to get more Rage. And then I'm using Orb of Storms, which I put down on top of the boss right before the fight. This is going to generate us Rage over time with Fawn of Rage, as well as give us mana regeneration. And yeah, this is just going to help get you 30 Rage as soon as possible for more damage. And the level on this doesn't matter, it's just there for those 2 support gems. Now finally, the Curse. And this is something we actually have a Curse swap for, similar to my other build. And that's going to help the Curse be really powerful. But I'm using Temporal Chains, just because it slows the boss animation down enough to the point where I can kill him before he can transition into phase 2. Now, if you don't have as much damage as me, you're probably still going to have to do phase 2, and in that case, I would recommend Enfeeble over Temporal Chains. That's going to give you another 30% damage reduction, and that'll allow you to probably face tank more of his skills without dying, and your leech is going to then be able to save you by healing all of that damage you take back. So if you want a bit of a safer setup, when you have less damage than I do, then I would recommend Enfeeble. But we're going to be using Heightened Curse, Ritualistic Curse, Curse Ground, and Persistence, and you're just going to put this down in front of the boss at the start of the fight, and you might have to reapply it 1 extra time in the middle of the fight if it expires, if you're not killing the boss as fast as I can. But for me, the Curse lasts the entire boss fight, and the Orb of Storms only last about 10 seconds, so not the entire fight, but it's enough to give me that 30 Rage damage bonus for most of the fight. Now, I also changed some points here to save some points. I'm only taking Primal Instinct. I didn't path through all this accuracy and attack speed stuff because I just wanted to get points for other stuff like this penetration. And you can also do this if you want. These attack speed points are actually not that important, and this accuracy is not that important, simply because I'm getting more accuracy from this ring that I've got here. It's giving me 150 accuracy, as well as I have quite a bit of dex that also gives accuracy, and honestly, there are diminishing returns on accuracy, so overstacking it is kind of pointless. So once you have enough, you're kind of set. And I'm at 100% crit the way it is. My attack rate is right about where I want it to be triggering my detonations as fast as I can, as long as I can generate enough charges, which of course Serpent's Egg is helping with. And yeah, that is the setup for bossing. It's much better. You'll see in the footage that I'm killing these Pinnacles in like 15 seconds, just completely making them a complete joke, trivializing all that content, and allowing me to have pretty much a 100% success rate without having to take any risks of dying or losing the money I invest into these Breach Stones. So yeah. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this update. This is the bossing energy shield setup, and I'm working on a Invoker now that'll be coming out, a video about that in the future, and it's looking promising. I can say that it might honestly be the best bossing ascendancy for a build like this, and it probably does close to 2 to 3 times more damage than the Amazon can. So keep an eye out for that, but until then, take care, have a good one. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.